Hello everyone, this is College Builder. Welcome back to my series Marathon Cove, the stunning Waterfront Campus Edition. As a reminder, in the first episode we started our tropical paradise by creating a power, trash, and rail center tucked away from the water in a hidden valley. In the last episode, we connected our rail and highway and created our first small town built around a central square and a commuter rail station. In today's episode, we will begin expanding around the cove, starting with new highway interchanges and rail extensions. Then, my favorite part, we begin our first university campus. Finally, we will do some new residential development by starting our next little town. These three parts will help us fill in around the back of Marathon Cove. The channels and creeks in this area create some really nice natural boundaries for each little community and also help us think about where we will build our three highway interchanges. Well, the only question is, will we be able to do all of this in one episode? Let's give it a try. We will start with our first interchange, which will be a full diamond interchange for moving on and off the highway in both directions. I'm going to use the MoveIt mod to sink the highway only a little. This will allow me to build an overpass that is not too high above the natural ground level. My approach is different from designs in which the highway is completely sunken down, completely raised, or flat with the overpass completely raised. After the first attempt, you can see that the highway slope is too steep. Using the gradient tool, I rebuild the highway so that the slope has a nice gentle grade. For this interchange, I sink the highway and raise the overpass both by a little bit. By doing both, you get a nice blended look into the surroundings and it avoids a steeper elevation change for any of the elements. I use the one-lane highway to create small road segments. These put the nodes where I want them to be for building slip lanes. I can then use the one-lane highway to build my on and off ramps for the basic diamond interchange. My first attempt fails, however, as the avenue and off-ramp keep sinking into the ground. I redo this with slightly different nodes and angles, and it works perfectly. While it may seem overly nitpicky, I think it is worth the extra time to get these lanes just right. This intersection is going to manage a lot of traffic in the future, so we want it to be set up as well as we can. I rebuild these ramps a few times, finally landing on a structure that has good angles, a good gradient, and overall good symmetry. The next step is to remove the traffic lights and crosswalks, as the traffic does not warrant them at this time. There isn't any traffic right now, but I think this interchange is going to work very nicely. I also need to reconnect my rail line. I removed it before starting the interchange to create room. This northern area between the highway and the mountains will have some industrial zones, so it's important to rebuild the rail with separation from the roads and the freight traffic that we will have in the future. Using the extended road upgrades mod, one of my favorites, I then add retaining walls to much of the overpass to give it that industrial look. I upgrade the median using the sidewalk tool in order to complete this stretch of road. Using the traffic mod is essential. The traffic mod is the spiritual successor to Traffic Manager from Cities Skylines 1. I remove the U-turns as well as the ability for traffic to exit the highway and go straight through to get back on the highway. With the first of our interchanges done, I want to prepare for our university campus area by laying down some rail tracks and roads on the Marathon Peninsula. You can see where we will be building our new residential community today, and what will soon be our waterfront campus. The peninsula will be the ultimate vacation and residential paradise. That is still a few episodes away. I would love to have a name for this peninsula. If you have any ideas, please drop them in the comments. We are on a tropical map, oriented around the water. It is therefore fitting that this will be a waterfront university. In the backstory for this area, an industrial tycoon created a university in his name. However, the tycoon left Marathon Cove following the stock market crash in 1929 when he lost all his wealth. The Board of Trustees renamed the university to avoid the negative associations. From then on, it was known as Marathon University. The campus was fortunate because the tycoon donated some of the most beautiful land on the peninsula to the campus. Every prestigious campus needs needs a main quadrangle or a main quad where students can hang out between classes. The quad is what will give this campus its distinctiveness. You will see that we are building the campus roads a little asymmetrically because we are so close to the water's edge. This is called contextual design. The design of a building structure or space should take into account the surrounding environment, including the physical context. This campus was created with the beach and water in mind. The water cuts almost up to the quadrangle. This gives it a beauty that not many campuses can claim. We can continue building out the road network around the quad and add our university train stop. This station will bring people to campus from the neighboring towns and the main city once that is built. In a future episode, we will need to think about a campus shuttle that picks up from the station. Our roads and rail are all starting to converge on the campus. I want to think carefully about how they come together. This will matter from a design perspective and from a traffic management perspective. The peninsula is one giant cul-de-sac. All of the traffic coming in and out will pass by the university campus. This could create a big bottleneck that we want to avoid. Before we finish the infrastructure, let's complete the layout for our quadrangle. I want to extend the surface that came with University Park, pulling it out to fill in the entire space and making it appear to be one manicured lawn. This campus will have many plants and trees and will be officially recognized by the region as an arboretum. The quad should be beautifully maintained. Using the Anarchy mod, I can connect to the existing paths in the University Park asset. This allows us to create additional crosswalks on the streets around the quad. The pedestrian paths will crisscross the entire quad, making it feel intentional. We will need to spend some time detailing this in the future. Right now, I want to put in the basic roads and structure for our campus. There are so many little details that I can imagine for a beachfront campus. What sort of things would you like to see? Perhaps some students will want to go surfing in between classes. I think we will have a lot of fun with the existing assets, but certainly I anticipate more coming in the future. Stay tuned for that. We will also add the university library. I wish it fit into the space I have by the quad. My ideal campus would be to line the quad with buildings. We don't have that right now, but once we have custom assets, my goal will be to fill this in. We will connect the road and rail from campus to the town of Sunrise Channel, stitching together our avenue. Before the highway was built, this avenue was the main road to campus and the end of the peninsula. Now the avenue's purpose is local traffic. We will also connect our rail line. Since this rail passes through residential neighborhoods, we need to be thoughtful about the roads and homes we place around it. This avenue forms the main local thoroughfare for the communities of Back Cove. We are going to develop one of those today, and we will see the next two in an upcoming episode. Right now, I want to focus on the University Bridge. This is the main bridge on the avenue that comes into University Village. It is the most distinctive bridge along the avenue, a focal point for tourists and a selfie spot for university students. We have some work to do to make this a distinctive spot and fix the awful slopes. I make the terrain level by the creek and slope the sides so that we have a nice gentle grade. Once the bridge is built, students and visitors will flock to it at sunset for their photo op. In order to fit in this bridge and straighten our avenue, I need to shift the rail just a little bit to the south. I rebuild the line, working on a new bridge and making sure all the curves and grades are smooth. Thinking about our future communities for this area, I am also creating height so that some roads can pass underneath. As we zoom out, you can really see how the entire area around Marathon Cove will be filled in. The University Village will sit at the middle of these communities, while residents and tourists move up and down the peninsula along our rail line. Now it's time to plan for future rail expansion. Marathon Cove was very fortunate. Because the tycoon used this land for industry before he donated it, it contained an old industrial rail line. The industry is now gone and the community reclaimed the rail for its commuter tracks. Although we are not building at this end of the peninsula today, I want to make sure it is set up for our future episodes. The rail at this end flows down to our university and then around to Totten Channel, where we will be building today. I'm going to draw out the districts for 3 different areas. The first will be our University Village, which contains Marathon University. The next is Totten Channel, which we are about to build. The third is a town that sits between the university and Totten Channel. I think this needs a name if you have any ideas. In some way, all of these towns along the back of the cove, together with University Village, act as a single community. However, they all have their own distinct features. The question is, can we make each one unique in its own way? I'm going to give it a try. Let's connect our existing rail line to the university station. In addition to rail, I'm going to build 2 more interchanges. These interchanges go into the smaller communities. Unlike the larger Diamond interchange near the university, I want to try to minimize the traffic on the local roads here. To accomplish this, each interchange will be only half, one providing ramps to the eastbound traffic and the other providing ramps for the westbound. This is a very simple highway exit and entrance. By using half an interchange, we help to minimize unnecessary traffic from diverting through the neighborhood. With the interchange in place, we can now start to lay down our roads in Totten Channel. We will follow road hierarchy and make sure we use local streets that feed to our collector and our arterial. Using the zoning toolkit mod, I can remove zoning capability from our avenue, forcing it onto our local roads. This is a very simple road structure, but it will allow us to fill this neighborhood with some of its own character while also making sure it fits with Sunrise Channel. Unfortunately, although I have rebuilt the rail lines several times, I am still not happy with them. It is too close to the avenue and it is not letting me bring the road across in a way that makes sense. I try this again, now with an eye towards our residential needs. I'm also going to take a final stab at getting the curve of the rail just right as it heads into University Station. Okay, I think I can live with this, for now. Let's go ahead and put in a few more roads around the University Station. The road structure will help to manage the volume of traffic I expect as we fill out our communities on the peninsula. The curve of this road is also a little bit better, so that it now feels like everything will flow well. Since some of these roads were here during the industrial period, I imagine that they would have had curves that worked well for the trucks as they came in and out. Back to Totten Channel, it's time to get the final roads in. We don't need traffic lights at this time going to the side communities. Of course, we will have to revisit that in the future. Now we can start building out our new neighborhood in Totten Channel. The first batch of homes will be on the waterfront and will be 3 wide because they are bigger, more expensive homes. This whole section would have some higher land value and it is very exclusive. We will use the lot depth variation technique so that we get different assets. This next zone is facing the wrong street. One trick I use is to move the road away by upgrading it to an alley. Once the zone is under construction, I can then upgrade the alley back to a road. On the other side, I want to keep the 3 wide going, but we're very close to our rail line and that would create some noise. To create the variation I want, I'm going to mix in standard North American and European homes along with the beachfront assets. After zooming out, I see that I have a little more space to use, so I can give a few of them some depth. Following our design principles, let's be sure to detail the streets with grass and trees. We wouldn't want street parking in this neighborhood. The avenue should also have a bit of grass in keeping with the higher income residents. I am reminded that we have not built any road maintenance depots. This is an essential build as our road conditions start to decrease, the number of traffic accidents increase. Let's go ahead and add that road maintenance depot to our city service area. Back to Totten Channel, we can continue filling in our neighborhood. I will use a mix of 3 wide and 2 wide along with zoning depth variation to make sure we have a good variety of assets. I will use the zoning toolkit to keep my zones all facing the same basic direction. As I build, I also leave empty spaces so that all of these can be filled in later with trees. We will want lots of trees in all the little spots to make this feel lush, peaceful, and natural. I also leave a buffer between the residential zones and the highway, thinking about the impact of highway noise. I take the same approach for lots that are close to our interchange. Speaking of interchanges, I think we can start thinking about our final highway interchange for this area. The one in Totten Channel served eastbound traffic, so the one in the next neighborhood will serve westbound traffic. I'm going to build an avenue and take it down underneath the highway just ever so slightly. I don't want this to be a sharp grade. I also don't want to have to increase the height of the highway by very much. After smoothing things out with the gradient tool, I can pull the avenue through and then rebuild the highway lines. For some reason, the game did not put any pillars in the middle of the road. Double-clicking with the highway tool will add a node and thereby also a pillar. I create the slip lanes and add the on and off ramps, creating nice gentle curves. The lanes, however, do not turn out quite as I want them on the first pass. A second attempt gets the desired results. I can now remove the traffic lights and crosswalks and update the lane directions. These 2 half interchanges should be very efficient for future residents, especially once we are ready to add more industrial zones to the area. If traffic becomes an issue, we can also look at some of our district policies. I finished filling in the residential zones, continuing with our design principles. This approach of zoning out one lot at a time is definitely slow, but I think that the end results more than pay for themselves. After adding a few parks, it's now time to fill out the spaces with trees, making this look like a well-established neighborhood. I think we made terrific progress. It felt like a tall order, but we managed to complete all of our goals. We built our 3 interchanges and extended our rail network. We laid the groundwork for our Waterfront University campus, and we built the entirely new neighborhood of Taunton Channel. This will allow us to wrap up today's episode with 1,071 citizens in Marathon Cove. This new community is absolutely charming. Who wouldn't want to live here? I'm also completely in love with our university campus. I can already imagine how amazing this will look as we add in zones around it and do a bit more detailing. I think this is where we will wrap things up today. I am so grateful to you for following along with our progress. If you missed the first 2 episodes, please check them out to see how we set up the region. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe so you can stay up to date. Thank you for all of your feedback. I really appreciate it. As this is just my 3rd YouTube video, all of your comments are welcome. I will see you next time, and until then, happy building.